Now, after more than 60 years essentially studying people, what have you learned about what humans need most?
Hmm. It sounds like a big question, and maybe the answer will strike you as being too simple. But here's my answer. Our deepest need is to feel that we belong somewhere.
Mm,
In fact, I think it's fair to say that for humans, for reasons we can explore in this conversation, but for humans, we don't really know who we are until we know where we belong.
wow.
And how do we know that we belong somewhere? The answer to that is that other people take us seriously. Other people smile at us. Other people acknowledge us, show signs of appreciating us. Other people include us. So you can't have a sense of belonging without a social context. And that, of course, for me, defines our responsibility to each other. And that responsibility is to show everyone we encounter in whatever way we can, to show them that we take them seriously because their mental health depends on knowing that they belong here, that they're acknowledged, they're accepted like anyone else. How we do that, we can talk about some of the ways we do that. But that in fact is my definition of kindness, that word that we perhaps overuse, although it is in fact my favorite word. But that's my definition of kindness. Anything we do to show another person that we take them seriously and therefore to show them that they belong here. They have a right to be here. They are part of us. And when I say anything, I do mean anything. I mean a smile, uh, saying good day to a stranger you pass in the street, or looks like rain to someone you're standing beside at the bus stop, uh, listening when someone needs you to listen. I'll say a little bit more about that later. Anything at all
Mm,
that says you are not alone, you are not ignored, you are not overlooked. Anything will reassure people that they belong. And because we are social creatures, that's our deepest need.
mm. I think, we talk a lot about connection and feeling connected to others and having that internal sense of belonging just takes it that next step. It's
Mm,
not that we have a connection which is really powerful,
mm,
but that sense of I'm worthy of being here.
exactly.
You're accepting me. We may be different. We may
Yes.
be at different stages of our life, particularly when we're talking to our kids. Um, but feeling that sense that someone has seen you, I think, is incredibly powerful.
Yes. Yes. There's a very sad story about a young man in Canberra just a few years ago. Young, I mean early 20s, 22 or 23. He attempted to take his own life by jumping off a bridge into the lake. He survived. And the rescuer who fished him out of the lake said the first thing this young man said to him was, if someone had smiled at me, I wouldn't have jumped.
Wow.
I mean, just ponder that for a moment. If someone had smiled at me, not if someone had put their arm around me or if someone had struck up a conversation or if someone had listened to my distress, just if someone had smiled at me, that can be enough. I think we need to remember the idea that you would pass a fellow human being in the street and not acknowledge them with a smile or a nod or a good day or something is very weird. And yet, particularly in our big cities, we've elevated not acknowledging each other almost to an art form.
Mm,
Avoid eye contact. Don't talk to other people in the lift. Act as if no one else is there. Fix your eyes on the floor numbers and pretend that these are not human beings standing beside you in a confined space. Well, of
Mm,
course, if the lift breaks down and jams between floors, suddenly you'll be socially connected and you'll know how
mm,
to respond to other.
mm,
It's a very odd thing. And again, we can explore this more fully in a moment, but it's a very odd thing that for people who have such a powerful need to belong, in Australia in 2026, our number one public health issue is social isolation.
mm,
And it's a public health issue because if people feel socially isolated, that increases their risk of loneliness, which we now recognize as a disease, anxiety, depression, hypertension, inflammation, sleep disturbances, vulnerability to addiction, even reduced life expectancy is now associated with social isolation. So something has gone, excuse me, something has gone radically wrong with a society comprising people with this powerful need to connect, to communicate, to be part of functioning communities, and yet, well, in the most in the loneliest cohort in our society, which happens to be the 18 to 24-year-olds, 43, in a very respectable piece of research conducted last year, 43% of young people, adolescents and young adults in that age group reported feeling lonely most of the time.
mm.
That is a
Extraordinary.
tragedy,
Mm,
which we have to do something about.
mm. And it's really interesting when you think about, you know, what might be preventing us from making that connection to others is often stuff that we've got going on inside. But the knowledge that just by acknowledging you could change someone's day for the better, you could add to that sense of I belong here by an action that could be so much smaller than you even think.
Mm.
By shifting our focus from an internal, I guess, reluctance to maybe put ourselves out there to shifting one around like spreading kindness or spreading belonging or spreading that sense of love to others.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And if we need a motivation for that, I think it's very important to recognize something that I've only myself come to recognize in the last few years, that kindness is not just a nice thing to do, but it's actually a species survival skill.
Mm,
And I say that in the light of some recent archaeological research. You don't normally think we'd go to archaeologists for insight into human nature, but some very interesting research has just been done by a group of British and German archaeologists working in Europe. And they think they have cracked a puzzle which has been worrying archaeologists, anthropologists, etc., for a very long time. And it's based on what the archaeological record tells us 42,000 years ago, just before I started my research career, 42,000 years ago, a catastrophic climatic event hit the planet Earth and wiped out four of the five species of humans who'd been roaming the planet for somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 years. So us, Homo sapiens, we call ourselves, the Neanderthals, Homo erectus, and a couple of others, two or three others. When this event hit the planet, all the others were wiped out and only our species survived. Why?
mm,
Did we have bigger brains? Were we smarter? No. The evidence is that at least some of those other species had brains and probably cognitive capacity as
mm,
great as ours. Could we run faster? No. Did we do nicer rock carvings? No. Some beautiful Neanderthal rock art has come to light just in the last couple of years. No, none of those things. These British and German archaeologists have come to the conclusion, and I think this is a beautiful thing to know about us. They've come to the conclusion that only our species had developed the art of living in small, mutually supportive, interdependent communities. Only our species had learned to live in settings where we shared resources, where we cared for the sick and the injured, and so on. In a paper about this research, one of the archaeologists said this was a case of survival of the kindest. And another said it was our emotional vulnerability to each other
Mm.
that turned out to be our greatest strength. So
Wow.
let's not think of kindness as, oh, gee, I suppose I'd better be kind to someone. No, no, this is how our species survived
Wow.
42,000 years ago, and it's the only way our species will survive well into the future. Let's just
Mm.
ponder for a moment what kindness is. Why is it such a huge factor? I mean, what that record says and what anthropologists say and psychologists and philosophers, everyone says, we are a cooperative species. Even neuroscientists now can look into the human brain. They say they can find in the human brain the cooperative center. It's in our DNA to cooperate, not to compete.
Mm.
Like that. We think of humans as intensely competitive. No, that's not the essence of our human nature. There is no competitive center in the human brain. That's a learned social response. We do sometimes find ourselves in circumstances where we feel we have to compete with someone else, especially if two people fall in love with the same other person. Uh, that becomes a competition, and we play at competitions on the sporting field. But of
Mhm.
course, even sport is an
Mm.
exercise in cooperation. You can't have a successful game of soccer unless you're going to all play by the rules and stay
Yeah.
within the boundary and all that stuff. We just watched the French Open, a classic exercise in cooperation
Mm.
as well as competition, but the cooperation comes first.
Mm.
Um, so, um, so we are born to be cooperative. Kindness is the crucial ingredient in cooperation. And I think of kindness. You mentioned the word love a moment ago, Belle, and that's what kindness. The original word was loving kindness, a nice big long word. We don't use long words anymore.
No, no time for that.
No time for loving kindness. We'll soon be calling it the K word. But anyway, but it is a unique form of human love, unique in this sense. If you think of all the other forms of human love, like romantic love or familial love or the love of friends, all of those have one thing in common. They're all about our feelings about
Hmm.
each other, they're about our emotions. Even when we use the word love in more trivial settings where we say things like, I love dogs, or I love chocolate, or I love that book, we're talking about our emotional response to those things.
Mm.
But here's where kindness is utterly different. Uh, 250 years ago, Samuel Johnson very wisely wrote, kindness is in our power, even when fondness is not.
Mm.
Now, isn't that a beautiful thing? We
Yeah.
belong to a species, and this is how the species survived. Let's keep reminding ourselves of that. We belong to a species whose members are capable of showing kindness to people they don't like.
Mm.
We're capable of showing kindness to people we could never agree with about religion or politics or sport or culture or anything. We're capable of showing kindness to total strangers. In other words, it's in our nature, it is actually in our nature to be indiscriminately kind, kind to everyone, kind to other people because they're other people, because actually the common humanity that we all share is the most important thing about it. And we celebrate it and acknowledge it every time we
Mm.
perform an act of kindness for someone else. And when I say indiscriminate, I mean indiscriminate. You don't see a frail elderly person try to cross a busy street, and unless you're very cruel, you don't go up to them and say, "Ha, I see you could use a bit of kindness here. I can help you across that street, but I first need to know, how did you vote in the voice referendum? Where do you stand on nuclear power? What do you think about Angus Taylor? You know,
That's right.
no, no, we don't do that, do we? You're a human, I'm a human. There you are. Uh, I will I will demonstrate to you that you belong here. I will demonstrate to you that I take you seriously. I will demonstrate to you that I understand the most important thing about us, for all our differences about gender, about religion, about ethnicity, about politics or anything, all those different, very important to our sense of self, but trivial
Mm.
compared with the common humanity that we all share. So I think it's time to celebrate, but to remind ourselves that you don't have to feel anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you're not kind to someone because you like, I mean, you will be kind to someone who you like, but being essentially human,
Yes.
being true to what Abraham Lincoln very poetically described as the better angels of our nature, being true to the essence of our nature,
Mm.
it's not about how I feel about you. It's about you're there, I'm here, I'll be kind.
Mm.
Hopefully, we'll be kind to each other, but it doesn't matter if you're not kind to me. I'll be kind to you because
Mm.
I'm being richly, fully human. Not
Yeah.
because I'm a hero,
Yeah.
not because I have a bottomless well of compassion. No, no, there's nothing to do with my feelings. I'm being kind to you because there you are, here I am. It's like breathing. When we're being true to our nature, it is like breathing. Now, of course, having said all that, I'm not saying because it's in our nature, because uh, there is a cooperative center in the human brain, and we therefore are born with all the qualities we need to be cooperative, like kindness and tolerance and compassion and so on. That doesn't mean we are born kind. I mean,
Mm.
there's a language center in the human brain as well. That doesn't mean our kids are born able to speak the language. I think this is a very important analogy, actually, Belle. Um, in order for them to develop language, we have to nurture it. We have
Mm.
to encourage it. We have to model it, teach it, reinforce it, reward it, all those things. And gradually they become adept at language. The capacity was always there. The capacity for kindness is always there. But like language, it has to be nurtured, it has to be encouraged, it has to
Mm.
be reinforced and rewarded. And most particularly, it has to be modeled. We have to
Mm.
show our kids the example of relentless, indiscriminate kindness. That's how we run the family. That's how we run the school. That's how we run the street. That's how we run the neighborhood. That's how we run the workplace. Because we're human, for these things to flourish, they need to run on kindness.
Mm. And I think just that reinforcement of we are designed this way. Like this is how humans are designed. And that's why when we I guess when we show someone kindness, whether that's our children, whether that's someone in the street, someone at work, not only do we reinforce to them that they are valued, we get an internal boost to we would call it mental fitness.
Mm.
We get
Yes,
an internal boost because we are fueling that thing that makes us human.
yes, yes, absolutely. And I'd only add one little qualification to that because I agree with what you said. My qualification would be let us never act kindly towards someone in order to get the boost.
Yeah.
Because that isn't kindness, that's
No.
self-indulgence. I'll go
Correct.
out and find someone to be kind to and then I'll feel better. No, no. We do get the boost, but the
Yeah.
motivation is I'm kind to you because you're a human.
Mm.
You're one of us.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that Gus talks a lot about is the power of being vulnerable. You know, as a leader, as a parent, often we feel we need to have all the answers, and that it's a sign of weakness, perhaps, or that we haven't quite mastered things ourselves by showing that we are vulnerable. And in fact, the opposite is true. And it's interesting that you mentioned earlier around it was our shared humanness and vulnerability that actually contributed to us surviving that catastrophic climate event so many
Yes,
years ago.
yes.
Um, what are your views on the power of vulnerability in this space?
It's a crucial part of being human that we make ourselves vulnerable to each other. I mean, when people fall in love, I mean, part of the essence of falling in love with someone is that you make yourself vulnerable to that other person. That's so easy to be hurt.
Yeah.
But that's what love is about, being vulnerable to each other, and that's what kindness is about as well.
Mm,
I mean, self-sacrifice is a very unfashionable term at the moment,
mm,
because of course I mean, it's another little footnote to what we're talking about. We do live at a time of rampant individualism,
mm,
which has stifled many of our natural inclinations to be more vulnerable to each other, to be kinder, to be more compassionate, and so on.
mm,
No, at the moment, there's the risk, particularly with younger people, that we'll encourage them to think it's all about you,
mm,
your rights, your entire stand up for yourself. That's the essence of the me culture, that it's all about me and that I can have what I want, I can be what I want, etc. No, 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 you're one of us. It's not that simple. And yes, we all do have individual rights and we're all unique. I mean, the most fascinating thing about us is how different we are. Parents say, they've got three kids. How come my kids are so different from each other when they've got the same parents? Well,
yeah.
that's the fun of being human. We have these huge
Mm,
differences between us. How fortunate we are in Australia to have such an incredibly diverse population, reminding us every day of the diversity of humans,
mm,
that our human nature is expressed in such different ways. That is the most fascinating thing about us, but the most significant thing about us is that we're all one. And
mm,
the most significant thing about you and me is that we're both human. The most interesting thing is how we're different.
yeah.
But and that's fun to think about, and
Mm,
people write novels about and make movies about and tell jokes about and so on.
yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But the really big story, the deepest truth about us
Mm,
is our oneness.
mm.
Whether we're talking First Nations people, whether we're talking males, females, Pacific Islanders, Albanians, New Zealanders, even New Zealanders.
Even New Zealanders. Well, that is good to know. My husband will be very happy about that. But it's such a sobering thought, and it really does, highlight that common humanity that I find is so grounding, particularly, when you feel like, you might be under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress as well as is just, remembering that. And I think, the opportunity we have as parents to model that thinking, that just as we are nurturing the individual, we are encouraging those values of community and oneness, because it's the combination, I think, that helps us to, see the world in maybe a little bit more open and balanced way, and
Yes,
it takes some of the pressure off yourself as well,
yes,
um, in being this perfect human individual.
yes.